Good morning, lovely friends. As I said in yesterday's video, I am going to read the last post that I had made on my blog. This post was written originally back in April of 2020. That seems a very long time ago. Anyway, I have not read this ahead of time. So as I have been reading all of these blog posts, they're kind of, new to my mind, kind of reliving what my thoughts were when I was writing that. This is the last one. And as I said in yesterday's video, I think what I will do is I will just kind of come up with other topics that I've kind of dealt with in um, my journey with postpartum depression, depression and anxiety in general, motherhood, raising boys, raising kids, teenage phase, products that I love, cleaning. I'm very much into, making sure my home is organized and cleaned, and it just helps me mentally stay decluttered if my house is decluttered. So just kind of that stuff. And then, if this channel grows and I start getting, comments and feedback, then, any ideas or suggestions on something that we all could talk about and learn from each other, that would be great. That's my hope, is that eventually there will be some, interaction with people that see the videos and some feedback. So, again, good morning. It is very sunny and hot in North Florida, North Central Florida. That's telling me that it's going to be a very hot, humid summer, but that's okay. Again, just praying that hurricane season is kind to us. We had a very bad season last year. So, um, anyway, let's jump right into it. So, the title of this post is What the Me Now Would Tell Me Then. If I could go back to my darkest days during postpartum depression, I would tell myself these 5 things. It is okay to not feel that immediate connection with your baby. So many people talk about falling in love for the first time when they saw their baby. When you are struggling with postpartum depression, you were robbed of that instant connection. Guess what? That's okay. It will come. 2, do not be ashamed. Embrace your feelings, walk through the darkness, and be honest with how you're feeling to those people around you. 3, self-care does not mean you are being selfish. It's important to do things that make you feel good. Take a long bubble bath, get a pedicure, take a walk, get a mental break. Your baby needs you at your best so you can be the best mom. 4, buy some comfy but cute clothes. Listen, I had a C-section and only wore these horrible, ugly nightgowns. Scared myself looking at myself in the mirror. I wonder what Hayden was thinking. And finally, I would tell myself, you will survive. You will survive the days you don't want to shower. You will survive the mental anguish. You will survive the nausea. You will survive the darkness. You will survive. Peace and love. Yeah. um, all of those things and more. I'll go back to one, and I've talked about it multiple times. Not feeling that instant connection and kind of feeling shame with that. With Hayden and I, he's my firstborn son, now 16. I had an emergency C-section, and emergency C-section to where I was put under general anesthesia. So I was asleep. It was, they did not have time to place an epidural. It was rush me to the OR and get me sedated and get him out. They had lost his heartbeat, and I had been kind of laboring through the night, wasn't progressing, um, and then he, they lost his heartbeat. So it was urgent. Well, he had to be in the NICU for 4 days. So there wasn't any physical touch. I think the second day I was able to touch his little fingers through the oxygen bubble that they had him in, but there was no holding, there was no skin to skin, there was no feeding. He was only on IV fluids, so there wasn't there just wasn't that physical connection, which is so important um, when you have your baby. That those first few moments, I believe, are so crucial and so just imperative to both the mom and the baby. And Hayden and I, were robbed of that. Now, am I grateful that I had an emergency C-section versus the alternative? Absolutely. Um, but I think that was a huge part of why there was a disconnect. I was having the early signs of postpartum depression. I was dealing from a major surgery. I don't tolerate anesthesia well in general. I had my gallbladder out before, other things where I had anesthesia, and I just don't tolerate it well. It comes with bad side effects for about 2 weeks for me, um, mentally. So all of that combined played a huge part in how my journey with Hayden began. So it's okay that you don't feel that immediate euphoria that you see in movies and hear other people talk about and read about. It's okay. It really is, because if you are committed to working on yourself through this, through the depression, that will come. They're your child. It will come, and you just have to be patient with yourself. I wasn't patient. Still is not something I'm very good about, whether it's postpartum depression or regular life. Um, so anyway, it'll come. Be patient. Do not be ashamed. Embrace your feelings. Walk through the darkness and be honest with how you're feeling. Again, that was something I was not good at. I have mentioned in other videos, my husband was my advocate. He was the one that was like, I don't think how she's feeling is normal postpartum. I don't think she's okay mentally. And he really was the one to reach out to my healthcare provider, my OBGYN, and say, something doesn't seem right. He was Googling, he was, reading articles, he was doing all the things, and he was talking to me about that. And he had brought up the term baby blues. He's like, maybe you have the baby blues, but from what I'm reading, it seems more severe. So it may be postpartum depression. And, he was kind of just, doing research, and he really kind of stepped up and, fought to get me help, and really was in my corner to say, we got this, let's tackle this together. Let's make a plan. Let's figure this out. We'll work together. And we did, because I didn't have the mental capacity to do it myself. So I was very blessed and lucky that I had somebody that recognized that. But going back, I wish I would have been honest with the people in my circle around me. I wish I would have been honest with my mom and my sisters and um, close friends. I wish I would have just been honest and said, listen, I am really struggling. This is how I'm feeling. This is what my thoughts are. And I would have had people rally around me. I would have, I talked about, help, new moms wanting maybe dinner cooked or laundry done or the house cleaned or whatever. I had people that would have jumped to do that. I just wasn't honest with what I needed. So I would encourage you that if you were in that period, be honest. Be honest with those that love you and care about you and want to support you. They just don't know how. So just be honest with how you're feeling. Um, I really wish I would have done that. I think my I think my experience going through postpartum depression the first time would have looked a little different if I would have just been um, not so ashamed and felt like it was normal to go through this, and that I wasn't alone and that there were other moms and resources. And I wish I would have just reached out for support, really, because my husband was kind of you know walking this path with me, alone, and he was alone too. And that's something that I haven't talked about before, and maybe I'll talk about in another video. Your partner, if there's one in the picture, needs support too, because when you're dealing with any type of mental illness, whether it's postpartum depression or generalized depression or anxiety, the people around you need support too, because they need to learn how to support you. They need to educate themselves. I'm not comparing it to alcoholism, but when someone is dealing with trying to become a recovering alcoholic, and those around them usually seek Al-Anon, for how can we best support the person that's in recovery. The same is true with mental illness. It really is. The people around you need help to educate themselves, to learn how to best support you, to learn maybe what they can learn about themselves in the process. So if you're honest with those in your circle, it will open up some new conversations and some opportunities for growth for everyone. 3, self-care does not mean you are being selfish. It's important to do things that make you feel good. Take a long bubble bath, pedicure, take a walk, mental break. Your baby needs you at your best so you can be the best mom. 1,000%. When I had Hayden, money was very tight for us. So going to get a pedicure was not, I understand everybody's in a different financial, situation. So maybe that is feasible for you. That's a great, luxury. I consider it a luxury today to, just go take that, couple of hours to myself, every couple of months and have my nails and toes done. And it's kind of me time. But, um, that wasn't really feasible for us at the time for me to, do that. But what I could do is, we live in rural Florida, and our home was on beautiful um, little pine forest, I call it, where there was deers and birds and, all kinds of wildlife, and, safe to walk, and just to get outside for 5-10 minutes and just get fresh air. There were days I don't even think the sun touched my face at all. Zero, none. Not to check the mail, not to get something out of my car, nothing. So if, finances are an issue, even just 10 minutes to just go sit in the sun, best medicine, best medicine. I have to remind myself to do that now sometimes too. When I get kind of in a mental funk, to say, okay, how much time have you been outside, fresh air, sunshine, listening to the birds? How much me time have I had? My husband gets on me all the time about not doing things for myself because I get in this go go go. Okay, get the kids up, get them off to school, get to work, get off work, get dinner done, get the kitchen clean, get laundry done, that run into practice, run into ball games, all of this stuff. And he'll say, what have you done for you today or this week? Like, have you taken any time to just say, this 30 minutes is going to be about me? When you have a new baby, you may feel like 30 minutes is, you don't have 30 minutes, and that's okay too. Start with 5 minutes, set a timer and say, I'm just going to go sit in the sunshine for 5 minutes, and, see how that makes you feel. Or I'm going to put on a song for 5 minutes and I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to listen to some, music that feels good to my soul. Um, Baths were a big thing for me. I've always been a bath person. I love my bath bombs. I love my bath salts. I love my bubble baths. I love all things bath related. Always have. When I was recovering from the C-section, couldn't have one for a while. But when I got to the points where I was clear to be able to take a bath, um, that was when I started making some time for myself was the baths. And that was after the period of when, my husband wasn't having to, bathe me, and I mentally was able to manage that on my own. But that was my me time. That made me feel good. It made me kind of feel rejuvenated. It made me feel refreshed. And so that was something that I did for myself that was healing to me mentally, and it's okay to do that. Buy some comfy, cute clothes. I had these horrible, ugly nightgowns. Yes, I did. It was terrible. I lived in those for a very long time. Um, I had, I'm a nurse, and I had really not prepared myself for what recovery with a C-section looked like. Um, so I did. I lived in those moo nightgowns for a very long time because they were just comfortable. I didn't want anything touching um, that scar, that incision. It was uncomfortable. It was painful, and I just didn't. So I lived in that. Again, finances, you may not be able to go out and buy, you know, something new to wear. That's okay too. Find something that, you know, is in your closet that may be comfortable, that you haven't worn in a while, um, and kind of, make it a refresh. Uh, I remember my mom going to Walmart and buying me this cute, I think I talked about it yesterday in yesterday's video, um, a cute pink gown with bows on it, and I loved it. It made me feel good. It made me feel pretty. It made me feel girly. Um, so, I loved that. And you can get, nightgowns at Walmart sometimes for less than $10, on the clearance, sometimes less than that. So, just kind of get creative with that. But that did make me feel good having a new, something new to wear that just kind of made me feel a little bit better. So, um, kind of refresh yourself. A side note to that, um, once I was kind of coming, out of the first initial fog of postpartum depression, I got into wanting to, use different products that smelled good and felt good and made me feel good. Um, skincare and lotions and stuff like that. So that's something else. Maybe you've got a lotion in the back of your closet that, you haven't used in a while that you forgot about, or, I know with babies, you have to be careful what you put on your skin to, not transfer, but, is there something, that you've kind of forgotten about that maybe you could pull out? For me too, it was, one of my favorite gifts my husband has ever gotten me is I had always wanted a real set of pearl earrings and a pearl necklace. And sometimes I would just put on my pearl earrings after I bathed because it just made me feel good. I mean, I wasn't going anywhere to, you know, just me and the baby, but it just kind of spruced me up a little bit, made me feel a little bit, pretty. So just look around your house, look in your closet, look in your drawers, look in your bathroom. Maybe there's something that you forgot about that you can pull out. And finally, I would tell myself, you will survive the days that you don't want to shower. You will survive the mental anguish. You will survive the nausea. You will survive the darkness. Um, you can survive. You will survive. It really goes back to, I wish I just would have been honest with those around me, because I could have had so much more support and love. And I really could have had an opportunity to educate those people around me. I wasn't in a position to educate really, but I think if I would have been honest, I think as I would have progressed through the depression, I could have used it as a tool to educate some people in my family, because I remember having someone in my family when I was trying to say that I was struggling, and then was met with, suck it up, do what you got to do and get it done. And that just kind of, set me back with wanting to be vocal about um, what I was going through. Now, with that being said, you could possibly meet that same resistance. That's why I would encourage you to let in the people that are already close to you. Like, don't go out of your way to just somebody that you're an acquaintance to. It's like, oh, I heard you had a new baby. Is there anything I can do to help? Well, I'm really struggling with postpartum depression. We don't want everybody giving advice. I have done several videos in this small little channel that's talked about what you can do with some of the advice that people have to give. I'm talking about the people that are closest to you, whether it's a sister, whether it's my pastor's wife at the time, who was also my neighbor. Lovely, lovely lady, friend, resource. If I would have just said, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, can you help me? No question, she would have done anything I asked and then some. But I trusted her. I trusted my sisters. I trust my mom. So I'm not saying, go tell, every aunt and uncle and cousin, what you're going through. The ones that are close to you, that you already have that connection with, that you have a bond with, that you have a trust bond with, those are the ones that I'm talking about to let in. And if you're met with that type of response from people that you trust, don't take it personal. I did with that family member. I took it really personal, but I had to step back and say, they were raised in a different generation. They were the suck it up, buttercup, get it done, generation. They were field workers, farmers. There was no calling in sick to work, or the family didn't eat if they didn't get out and work at daylight. So it was a lack of education and knowledge on their part. So I don't think they meant any harm. I think it really just is, an uneducated response. They are from a generation that depression and mental illness is just not something that was, talked about or dealt with. And so at the time I took it personal, because I'm like, okay, I was this close to telling you, what was going on with me. But, just be careful on who you share with. And if you're met with those responses, just give them grace, love, kindness, and compassion. And, just at a later time when you're mentally ready, use it as a tool to kind of educate and be an advocate for other people, because maybe somebody else will cross their path that's dealing with the same thing, and they'll be, more prepared to use it as a teaching tool. So, yeah, so that's it for that post. That is the last post. I guess 2020 was the last time that I put anything on that website. I hope whoever watches this video, some part of it is helpful. And I would love some feedback. I would love some comments on anything else that you would like for me to share or talk about. Please share this video with someone that you know, or that may know, that may be struggling with postpartum depression. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Again, it is beautiful and sunny and hot here already. So I'm going to get my workday started. I'm going to finish my coffee and have a lovely day. Thank you.